Okay, so I'm gonna go over why I think black women have such a tough time finding husbands, and I think the main reason is because um, they feel like they're entitled, or I should say, a lot of black women feel like they're entitled to a good man, and that's the wrong perception to have. So, like, I'll just give you an example, personal example. So, for me personally, I don't have any like race requirements. I'd say half my dating experience has been black women, half has been other races, right? And so, but in the times that I've dated outside the race, I got a really hard time from black women, with a lot of questions and a lot of debates. Rarely, if ever, anything from black men. They didn't seem to care. But and the arguments were always the same coming from there. And I'll give you an example. So someone might say, like, why are you dating this woman, and why don't you date a black woman? And so I begin to kind of describe the experience I was having in a specific relationship, how they treat me, how I treat them, why I chose to be with them, whatnot. And then as I'm explaining it, you can kind of see the acceptance wash over their face of, wow, he's really getting high quality treatment. I can't compete with that. I don't want to compete with that. I don't want to, treat him the way this woman's treating him. But they can't just concede, okay, now I understand you gotta, you have a great pick, so it makes sense why you're with her. They would have to demonize or criticize what's basically something positive and try to make it into a negative. So if I say the woman's like treating me well, she's an excellent companion, their response would be, well, you just want someone you can run all over who's going to do whatever you want, making it sound negative. And then they would say, is that because you can't handle a strong, independent black woman, right? Now let's like peel back some layers from that statement. When you say you can't handle something, like in this circumstance, a strong, independent black woman, what you're essentially saying is you don't want to choose a more difficult situation that's going to be less rewarding. My response is, who does? Like, just let's say it was a job, for example, and you have the opportunity to pick one of two jobs. One job, you're going to work 50 hours a week instead of 40 and get 25% less money than you're making now. The other job, they're going to double your pay and you get to work half as many hours. What would you choose? You choose the easier, more rewarding experience instead of the more difficult, less rewarding experience. I think everyone would. So they spin a positive for quality treatment from other races and make it a negative, and they spin the negative, which is what they're offering, a more difficult experience that's less rewarding, and try to make it sound like a positive. The closest thing I can think of to compare it to would be like a good student who's a child but in a bad neighborhood. He's going to get bullied for being a good student and make getting good grades sound like it's a bad thing to do. And yet the rebellious kids or disrespectful kids or poor students may be getting praised and called cool for doing that, when that's really kind of the reverse of how you should view that. And I think that's what happens a lot of times in relationships, as far as how black women view black men, say, for example, dating outside the race, and them having marriages at the lowest percentage of any race. So of either gender in America and of any race, black women get married at the lowest percentages of all those groups. And I think that's the reason, is that the entitlement to a good man, as opposed to going out there and competing. So instead of ridiculing people dating outside your race, for example, and losing black men or not being able to find a husband, compete. Be a better companion. Like a lot of times the guys, if a guy's attracted to you, they may make their treatment of who treats me the best. So if you're, being difficult and need to be handled, that might not be what a guy's looking for. And so I think they have themselves to blame in that regards. Plus, I think they plan for it. So now, in any situation, you have a plan A and a plan B. People forget being the strong, independent black woman that doesn't need a man is plan B. Almost 100% of them want to have a husband and a loving family, but you never talk about it. So if you put all your planning and energy into developing plan B, then you're planning to fail. You're planning to fail. So if you ask a woman, What has she done to a black woman, for example? What has she done to, like, for plan B, so that she doesn't need a man? Oh, I'm going to school, I've got my education, I have a good job, I got my credit together, I bought a house. So all their planning is around plan B, but you rarely hear them talk about or plan for or even mention plan A. So I think the failure is by design. If you put all your energy into plan B, you're not really giving plan A a chance. So and I think that's another reason for it. Now back to the whole feeling entitled to a man. So I'm gonna give you another example. This is Reno, Nevada. I was in a casino with my then girlfriend at the time. We were just standing there talking, having a drink, and then she motions to me, like, look over there. And I look over, and there's 3 black women staring at her. They're not even blinking. They're not making eye contact with me. They're staring directly at my girlfriend at the time with what I would describe as like a murderous rage in their eyes. They looked angry. I mean, a complete stranger. She's never seen them before. Neither have I. They were, for several minutes they stared at her. Didn't budge. And I knew why they were doing it. They were mad to see, she was a white woman. They were mad to see me out with a white woman. But my thing is, I can tell you what they weren't thinking. They weren't thinking, I bet you I can be a better girlfriend to him. I bet you I can provide a better relationship experience than she can. They were just mad that something they feel like they were entitled to, which is a black man, was with someone outside the race. And my thing is, that's the exact wrong thing to think. You shouldn't be mad at black women going outside the race, black men going outside the race. Compete, earn it. If you want a black man or you want a husband of any race, go out there and compete. Be a better companion. I don't see why that doesn't come up for people. Why they just feel like they're entitled to have a good man because you go out and get an education and this and that. And also think about what guys want. So now I've noticed that black women will kind of build themselves into the men they're looking to attract. So they'll rifle off their resume of, I have a good job, I take care of myself, I'm independent, I don't need a man, blah, 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 blah. Making themselves sound almost like a guy. And as if that's something that men are going to be attracted to. Now, some of those things can be a perk, but like, where's the submission, being agreeable, being feminine, being respectful, being loving, being nurturing, loyal? Those are the things that guys look for. So I feel like if you're going to try to prepare yourself for the dating marketplace to go out there and get a man, you should probably look into what men are attracted to and not build yourself into what you're attracted to in the opposite sex and expect that to be what we want as well. And so, like I said, I feel like black women are 100% to blame for the situation of being the least desirable to marry in the country, because they're not putting the effort into plan A, trying to make that succeed, and they're not competing, going out there trying to be better companions. You're not entitled to a man. You're not entitled to a black man. You're not owed anything. If you want a husband, earn it. Go out there and compete and be a better companion than your competition, and watch how many rings you start getting on your fingers, and marriages and proposals start happening. Compete. Till next time, be different.